Miss Pac-Man is actually another example of an arcade game sequel that I have never played until recently, like Super Breakout and Space Invaders Part 2, but unlike those, this is actually the case where I feel it deserves to be called a sequel. The game takes the same foundation, but makes it unapologetically better. There are 4 maze variations instead of just 1, and they feel better at the very least because most of them have 2 sets of tunnels that teleport you from one side of the screen to another rather than one, and the maze that has still only 1 is specifically designed around that, so there's more potential strategy in how to avoid the ghosts. And speaking of avoiding the ghosts, Miss Pac-Man has added just a little bit of randomization when and how their core behavior kicks in, and as a result the hide and seek is a lot more interesting to me than it was in the original Pac-Man, at times even tense and feels like a real game of cat and mouse. And it's not like I know the original Pac-Man patterns by heart, but still subconsciously I felt that something was not right, and there's no such feeling here. Also, fruits in this game move rather than just stand in one spot, and that might be a little addition, but it changes the dynamics for the better, as now you don't have to keep going to the center to get the points. Finally, the little intermission cutscenes aren't just random sketches, but tell a little story. A very simple one. In the first act, Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man accidentally meet. In the second, they have what I only can imagine is a euphemism for intercourse, because in the third, they get a little Pac baby. So what else than chasing one another back and forth, in and out, faster and faster could represent, you know? And so, the overall experience is very engaging in a way the original Pac-Man wasn't. I mean, it was still fun enough, but Miss Pac-Man is actually enjoyable to replay for me because it feels much more dynamic. So to the surprise of many, I guess, because it held the first position for quite a while, I will rank Miss Pac-Man above Space Invaders. I complained about randomness in Space Invaders Part 2, but I'm not against it in principle. I just don't think that particular implementation serves a good purpose. The implementation in Miss Pac-Man does though, and that makes every replay feel both strategic enough and fresh, which, you know, as addicting as Space Invaders is, at times replaying the first stages in it, for example, can feel by the numbers, which is not the case here. So I think Miss Pac-Man deserves to take the first spot as an even more replayable arcade title.